Of course.
We're good.
You were good to go?
Yep.
Oh,
Said yes.
yeah? Okay. The May 19th meeting of the Delray Beach Planning and Zoning Board is called to order at 5:14. Ms. Miller, if you would call the roll, please.
Dietrich Strawn is absent. Chris Brown.
Here.
Jeffrey Muslin absent. Mitch Katz.
Here.
Allison Thomas is absent. Judy Malika.
Here.
Gregory Snyder.
Here. Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, can we get
Motion to approve the agenda?
a motion by Mr. Katz, second by Ms. Malika, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The minutes of January
Motion to
27th,
approve the minutes from January 27th.
Second.
same Mr. Katz and second by Ms. Malika, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. At this point, anyone who wants to speak before the board today needs to be sworn in. If you could stand, and Ms. Miller will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand by the authority vested in me, the notary of the state of Florida. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. At this point, we'll take any comments from the public on items that are not on the agenda. I see no one coming forward, in which case we'll move on. We have no presentations, so we'll move on to quasi-judicial hearing items. I'll read the quasi-judicial rules. This hearing shall be conducted in accordance with the City of Delray Beach quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be permitted to present their case. The public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if the person represents an organization or group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The board members, staff, and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not legally be made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the number of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. Okay. So, perhaps you could enter.
Good evening. My name is Roland Bogich, planner, and I would like to enter agenda item 8A into the record. This is for a major plat, Southwest 4th and 7th Homes, located at 704 Southwest 4th Street, file number 2024-168, PMI-PZB.
Thank you. And before we start, is there any ex parte?
Just drove by.
Mr. Brown?
No, sir.
No. Go ahead.
None.
And I visited, drove by basically. All right. So, please proceed. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, Board. Christine Tibbs, Assistant Director for the Delray Beach CRA. So the purpose of this Southwest 4th and 7th Homes major plat application is to subdivide the vacant land located at 704 Southwest 4th Street into 3 buildable lots. You'll see in this overview that 2 of the parcels are going to be located west of Southwest 4th Avenue and 1 parcel east of Southwest 4th Avenue. So it is currently zoned R1A single family residential. The CRA purchased this property on December 29th, 2020 for the future development of affordable workforce single-family homes in the southwest neighborhood of the set. So the neighborhood is primarily residential in nature. There are also several vacant lots that have never been formally platted. This property is one of those non-platted lots, and the CRA is aiming to address this issue along with creating 3 additional lots for that future development of affordable and workforce housing in the neighborhood. So you'll see that this application was originally submitted as a minor plat, as it's just 3 lots. However, because right-of-way dedications along with easements are being included, we did switch it to a major plat application to go before you for this preliminary approval of the plat. So tracts RW1 and RW2 are going to be dedicated to the city, which comprise of 268 square feet for future corner clip turning radius for the adjacent roadways. Also, a 10-foot general utility easement at the front along Southwest 4th Street and the sides along Southwest 7th Avenue for the future maintenance of public and private utilities, and additionally a 12-foot water and sewer easement along the west side of Lot 1 dedicated to that future respective lot owner for drainage maintenance on the site. So you'll see here is the proposed plat in the 3 lots, lots 1 and 2, on the west side of Southwest 4th Avenue, and lot 3 on the east side of Southwest 4th Avenue. So consistent of the findings that are consistent with performance standards listed in Chapter 3. The subject property has a land use map designation of LD and a zoning designation of single-family residential. The 3 lots would be used for single-family affordable workforce housing, which is consistent with the current land use map and zoning designation. We would not be changing that at all at this time or in the future. Concurrency, existing water and sewer connections will service the lots, and then we also did include the general utility easement, water sewer easements in the preliminary plat. The drainage will be managed on the site. Schools, at the time of development, an application will be made to the school district as required. And traffic, at the time of development, if there are any traffic concerns or requirements needed by the city, we will be making that as we'll be meeting those requirements as part of getting our approvals. Solid waste, based on the waste generation rates for Palm Beach County, the Solid Waste Authority has indicated that its facilities have sufficient capacity to accommodate development proposals until 2054. And then for the parks and open space, impact fees of $500 per dwelling unit will be collected at the time of building permit when we do put those forward for approval. As to consistency, the project addresses goals, objectives, policies, needs, and other requirements included in the CRA redevelopment plan, the City of Delray Beach's Always Delray Comprehensive Plan, the West Atlantic Master Plan, also known as the Set Transformation Plan, and the Southwest Area Neighborhood Redevelopment Plan as they relate to the development of high-quality housing, innovative and diverse housing types, diverse and also income, and housing affordability. The property is surrounded by single-family residential, and the neighborhood is comprised mostly of 1-story single-family residences. The CRA's application intends to plat 3 additional lots that will be used to construct affordable workforce single-family homes, which would be consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. So as to compliance with the existing LDRs, the 3 proposed lots do not meet the dimensional requirements of R1A zoning district, so we are requesting waivers for all 3 lots at this time. So a waiver from LDR section 4.3.4K for the minimum lot requirement of 7,500 square feet is being requested for lots 1, 2, and 3. And a waiver from LDR section 4.3.4K for the minimum lot width and lot frontage requirement of 80 feet is being requested at this time for lots 2 and 3. So for granting the approvals, the granting of these waivers shall not adversely affect the neighboring area because similar lots, widths, and depths, the similar lot sizes currently exist in the surrounding neighborhood. Additionally, we're not going to be changing the zoning from R1A single-family residential. Granting of these waivers shall not significantly diminish the provision of public facilities. The plat takes into account general utility easement that's required, the water and sewer easement, and dedicates a required portion of the corner lots of lots 2 and 3 for road purposes, and future development will conform with the existing zoning and in an established residential neighborhood with existing water, sewer, drainage, and public facilities. Any other requirements for the city will be met at the time of building permit application. And additionally, granting of these waivers will not create an unsafe situation. The land has been vacant for some time. Some of you drove by and you saw that it is fenced off and it is a vacant parcel of land. We bought it as a vacant parcel of land. And the additional lots will help to create a more stable and safe neighborhood by allowing the development of additional single-family housing that will go to 3 families that will move into the Delray Beach area. That housing will be similar to the surrounding developed properties, which is consistent with the current zoning classification. Additionally, all 3 lots with the waivers would meet the minimum lot size requirements for workforce housing as contemplated by the current LDRs. They all would have a minimum lot frontage of 40 feet, and they would all still be 4,000 square feet. And granting of these waivers does not grant a special privilege, and that the same waiver would be granted under similar circumstances on other property for another applicant or owner. So similar sized lots exist throughout the surrounding neighborhood already. The LDRs contemplate workforce housing of lots with a minimum 40-foot frontage and 4,000 square feet, which these lots would meet if you granted these waivers. And most importantly, the waiver requests take into account the existing state of the property. Lot 3, we are requesting those waivers because that is where the lot currently is. And we're making the best use of the property in its current state without changing the zoning and land use designation, and we are adding much needed workforce housing to the neighborhood and the city of Delray Beach. So at this time, along with all the information that I just presented, we ask that you approve the preliminary plat, Southwest 4th 7th Homes, the major plat associated with these 3 buildable lots for the property addressed at 704 Southwest 4th Street, and find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And we are also requesting that you recommend approval of to the City Commission for the certification of the final plat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Bogish. You get it? Please.
All right. So this is, again, Southwest 4th and 7th Homes, 704 Southwest 4th Street plat. And we're going to start off with the background of the property. I know the applicant did a pretty good job giving you a general rundown. So the property, it's located on a 0.45 acre lot, and the land use map designation is low density. The zoning designation is single family residential R1A zoning, and currently the lot is vacant. The request is to approve the preliminary plat and provide a recommendation to the City Commission on certification of the final plat of Southwest 4th and 7th Homes, a major plat with waivers. All right, so I would like to note that this property is within the Delray Beach CRA redevelopment area, and it's also subject to the West Atlantic redevelopment plan. The lots are part of Lot 1 within Block 20 of the subdivision of Township 46, Range 43 East, which was recorded in 1910. And like many of the lots in the northwest and southwest neighborhoods in Delray, the subject properties were never formally platted. So here we actually break down the components of the plat, and the various plat elements are as follows. We have lots 1, 2, and 3. We have the 2 corner clip tracks RW1 and RW2, and then we have the 10-foot general utility easement wrapping around both components of the lots here. And we've also included a table to show the different lot dimensions, what is required and what is being proposed, and we'll go over that as well further in the presentation. Here we actually have a visual representation of the lot widths and the lot areas. So on the left you have the lot widths for all lots, including corner lots. So here you can see, for example, all of the colored lots are actually not meeting the requirements for R1A. So these are actually less than the required 60 feet for all of the kind of orange or red properties, and then the corner properties are under the required 80 feet of width. And then if you look at the areas, you'll notice something very similar, that a large majority of these two portions of the neighborhood here, close to, I would estimate 80%, are not meeting the required area as well. So just made a note of that. You can really see visually here that what's being proposed would not be substantially different than the existing structure of the neighborhood. And here we have the required findings. So the R1A zoning district is a preferred implementing zoning district of the LD land use. Single-family residences are permitted by right in R1A. And here you actually have table NDC1, which clarifies, which zoning designation corresponds to the low-density land uses. And R1A is in fact listed as a preferred. So moving into the concurrency now, the CRD did a pretty good job of covering these. Water and sewer services, municipal water and sewer are available with adequate capacity to meet service for the properties. There is a SCAD that has been submitted with this, and there is no negative impact to the school district. A traffic statement was not required. Parks and open space, there are the impact fees of $500 per dwelling unit for the park impact fee. And then solid waste, the Solid Waste Authority has indicated that its facilities will have sufficient capacity to accommodate all of the waste collection for the development proposal until 2054. And as for drainage, each lot will be required to handle the drainage on site, which will be reviewed at the time of building permit. And moving into consistency here, required findings, we actually have some policies from the policies, goals, and objectives of the housing section in the comprehensive plan, the Always Delray comprehensive plan. And I wanted to specifically place emphasis on a couple of these policies here. For example, the first policy, provision of infill development opportunities and redevelopment of underutilized parcels. Fostering growth without substantially and adversely impacting existing residential neighborhood character. Accommodating densities in established residential areas for promoting compatibility with the prevailing neighborhood character. Encouraging plans and investments to protect and or restore the socioeconomic diversity and cultural stability of the established neighborhoods. And then encourage development of vacant or underdeveloped land for housing and mixed uses, and promote rehabilitation of underutilized housing into desirable places to live. So we definitely have vacant lots. The fact that the CRA would be trying to propose workforce housing at these areas definitely follows consistency with these policies to reach out to a more socioeconomically diverse audience. So moving forward, we have the consistency for neighborhoods, districts, and corridors. So starting off, we have NDC 1.1.2, provide a complementary mix of land uses, including residential, office, commercial, industrial, recreational, and community facilities with design characteristics that provide similar uses, intensity, height, and development patterns facing each other, especially in residential neighborhoods. So that was the key there for that policy. And then NDC 1.1.12, develop and redevelop remaining infill lots in residential neighborhoods using zoning that is identical or most similar to the zoning of the adjacent properties, or that results in the same or less intense development. So, policy NDC 1.1.14, continue to require that property be developed or redeveloped or accommodated in a manner so that the intensity and density are appropriate in terms of applicable physical considerations, encourages affordable goods and services, are complementary to and compatible with the adjacent land uses, and fulfill remaining land use needs. All right, so here we actually have the LDR requirements. So we have LDR section 4.4.3, which is single family residential R1 districts. And then below we have the LDR section 4.3.4K development standards matrix for residential. And here we've outlined in the red border all of the required minimums and specifications for the R1A. So the minimum lot size is 7,500. The minimum lot width is 60 and 80 for corner lots. So those are the two most important, along with the lot area. All right. So moving on to the next slide, we have 12 standards for site plan and or plat actions. And what we did here, we wanted to narrow specifically what is most applicable to the proposal here, to the plat. So looking at E, vacant land which is compatible with neighborhood character. And that definitely corresponds with all of the adjacent developments, regardless of the zoning designation. Then we have G, provides a variety of housing types to accommodate the city's growing socioeconomically diverse population. And I know we went over a slide previously that also touched on that. So the final one is K, and that's stating that the development is meeting table NDC 1 for the low density land use designation. Right. Now we actually have the waiver analysis findings section. So here we're going over the required findings, and this is what the board will need to take under consideration before the motion. So the plat shall not adversely affect the neighboring area. It shall not significantly diminish the provision of public facilities. It shall not create an unsafe situation, and does not result in the granting of a special privilege in the same waiver that would be granted under similar circumstances on other properties or another applicant or owner. And here we do have the waivers, the requested waivers outlined in table form. So we have the required and provided lot areas and frontages, and then for each lot, so you can see what waivers are being requested. And staff consideration to follow up with this, generally the existing lots in the surrounding blocks do not meet the R1A zoning district minimum requirements, and that's what these two representations were meant to really run home here. So more specifically, the majority of the lots on the two blocks on which the subject properties are located do not meet the district minimums. Thus, while the proposed lot dimensions do not meet the lot standards for single-family lots, the lots are not incompatible with the current block and lot pattern. So one big consideration there would be, is the LDR weighed against what is being requested with these waivers? Is it really such a deviation from what's actually going on here in this neighborhood already? So that's one point that we brought up with our staff considerations. And another point that we touched on is the legal use of lots of record. And just first and foremost, this is not a legal lot of record, and we already know that. So the point of the plat would be to establish this as a legal lot of record, which would actually allow for the development of the workforce housing, because it does meet the criteria there. The lots would be at least 50 feet wide. They are a minimum of 4,000 square feet. So that provision, you know, it's important to consider that whether or not this is conferring a special privilege. So not only would granting these variances not convey the special privilege, but they would actually convey similar rights of other property owners with other neighborhoods, within other neighborhoods. And that, for example, you know, when it comes to developing the workforce housing, will provide options that were previously available to others, but not specifically for this property here. So, and then we have two motions. We have a motion for the preliminary plat to approve or deny the preliminary plat, and then we have a recommendation to the City Commission to approve or deny the final plat. And the final slide here just shows a juxtaposition of the actual plat to the parcel and how everything is situated on the site. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point, does anybody in the public wish to speak on this application? Seeing no one, does the applicant or staff have any cross-examination or rebuttal or anything?
No.
No? Okay. Ms. Malaga?
I would be in favor of this. I was gonna say something like you had me at hello, but
Okay. Mr. Brown?
I'd be in favor of this, and we've been doing it for many years. And this is an old platted lot, unplatted lot. And from the early 1900s, we'll see more of it.
Okay. Mr. Katz?
Also in favor of it. My only question is, I know you had, to the CRA, I know you had another project like this with 3 homes, and then later on you had a mailbox problem because you couldn't, since it was platted together, the post office made you get like a group box and they couldn't walk to it. Have you figured out a fix to that since you're doing that? So you're not that problem again?
That one would be for developments like above a certain home number. So I don't believe that we would have this
I
issue
thought that
here.
other one was like only 3 or 4 homes. It was a small one.
I think it was 20 for that
Oh, was
one.
it 20? Okay.
Yes, it was 20. That was Carver Square with
Oh,
20.
that was
I
Carver
think.
Square. I thought there was something I watched, but
Yeah, I
Otherwise-
believe I have the application for the Postal Service, and there is a
Okay.
threshold, and I do not believe this hits that threshold.
and nothing else.
Okay, I just want to make sure that this will be workforce housing. Is that a guarantee?
If you grant the waivers and they're plotted at this size, we would follow the requirements of the LDRs for
Okay, that's all,
workforce housing.
that's all my
Yes.
only concern. No, I'm in favor of it. Can we get a motion on
Motion.
the
Can I just
preliminary
make one motion,
plat?
or do you
2
want to?
motions.
Just 2, because we need, they
But
need
first the
the
vote.
approval of the preliminary plat.
You ready? You can go.
yeah. I move that we approve the preliminary plat, Southwest 4th and 7th Homes, a major plat associated with the creation of 3 buildable lots for the property currently addressed as 704 Southwest 4th Street, finding that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Malaga, second by Mr. Katz. If you could call a roll, please. Ms. Malaga.
Deidre Strawn is absent. Chris Brown?
Yes,
Jeffrey Muswin absent. Mitch Katz?
Yes.
Allison Thomas is absent. Judy Malika?
Yes.
Gregory Snyder?
Yes. That motion passes 4-0.
I would make another motion that we recommend approval to the City Commission for the certification of the final plat, Southwest 4th and 7th Homes, a major plat associated with the creation of 3 buildable lots for the property currently addressed as 704 Southwest 4th Street, finding that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and meets criteria set forth in land development regulations.
Second.
Another motion by Ms. Malaga, second by Mr. Katz, and call the roll, please, Ms. Miller.
Deidre Strawn is absent. Chris Brown?
yes,
Jeffrey Muswin absent. Mitch Katz?
Yes.
Allison Thomas absent. Judy Malika?
Yes.
Gregory Snyder?
Yes, that passes 4-0.
Thank you so much.
very much, both of you.
Start to stop, now it's going forward, instead of backwards.
I did. I did so.
Wait, wait,
There you go.
oh, there we go, now it's got. I'm usually pretty good at technology.
And this isn't even, those things don't have enough instruction. Okay. Ms. Rodriguez, if you would please enter 8B.
Yes, so I'll state for the record, and my name is Susanna Rodriguez. I'm a senior planner for the city of Delray Beach. I would like to enter file number 2025-090 into the record. This is for agenda item 8B for the recommendation of 2 CBD waiver requests for 220 Northeast First Street, known as American Social. The applicant is here today to present.
Thank you. And any ex parte on this?
I drove by the site.
Okay, Mr. Brown?
No.
Judy?
I also drove by the site.
I visited and took a good look at it. Ms. Belenky, please.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. It's a pleasure seeing you all this evening again. I'm here this evening representing American Social for their proposed waiver requests. So the property itself, it's located kind of in the heart of Pineapple Grove. It has Northeast First Street to the north and is immediately east of Northeast 2nd Avenue. The property itself is about 1.38 acres. It is in the CBD. And it is developed with a vacant office building. It was previously Ocean City Lumber, and that's historically what that has been used for since, I think, the 70s or so. Here are some existing images just to put things into perspective. I think it's been boarded up since, so it does not even look quite this lively, if you can even say that. And again, it's kind of located to the Arts Garage. So this is the the eastern end of that building as well. So it's very dated. It really does not flow with the rest of Pineapple Grove and needs some revitalization. So we have actually been working with the city for quite some time on this application. You may recall the property. I can't recall if the in lieu request came before this board years ago at this point. But we've been working on it for probably the better part of 2 or 3 years. We did receive site plan approval. It was done administratively because it was under a certain threshold for the building that we're speaking of today, which is on the corner here. And this is a copy of that prior approval. And so American Social, at that point, we were working to address staff comments. They needed to open. They had contractual deadlines. Were under quite a large amount of pressure. So we worked through staff comments and got the application approved. But then when they were really looking at, construction drawings and what they would need, they just realized, from an operational perspective, it was not going to work. And so the property owner and American Social worked closely to figure out what exactly, they would need in order to make this a viable location for American Social. And that's what brings us here today. So you have the previously approved site plan, kind of a blowed up version of the space that we're talking about on the left-hand side of the screen, and the proposed modifications on the right hand. So at first blush, it looks fairly similar, but there's a couple kind of big changes that I want to note just to kind of put things into perspective starting off. So at first, the entrance was located kind of in the center of the building, as seen on the previously approved site plan, highlighted by the yellow circle. It's been moved to the corner, really to highlight that intersection, bring some life into it, and make more usable outdoor space. And that's really the crux of what these changes are. In this area here, where American Social is actually taking out some building area, again, in order to create a larger patio, because that outdoor experience is critical for them, especially in South Florida. And per their business model, they want outdoor spaces that aren't just, two top seating areas, which is what the prior approved plan would provide. But they need gathering spaces. They want to put chandeliers, nice attractive lighting, great canopies out there, TVs potentially. So all of those things needed to be accommodated for. And then they are proposing to expand some of the outdoor areas and make modifications to the streetscape requirements, which is what we're here on today. And so specifically, we're looking at this area from the previously approved site plan. So you can see the seating area kind of had to jut in this area because of the on-street parking spaces. So we're proposing to kind of keep that outdoor seating area consistent, and I'll explain that in a little greater detail as we move forward. And then same thing on the eastern side here, again, adjacent to those on-street parking spaces. And so we're here before you on two separate waiver requests, one related to the maximum awning encroachment. Currently, awnings are required to be a minimum of 5 feet, but can only encroach 4 feet into a setback. So we were really limited by that 5-foot minimum requirement for an awning previously. And then the streetscape curb zone, we're requesting to essentially omit the curb zone adjacent to those on-street parking spaces. And so just to start off with the waiver criteria, I typically end on them, but want to put things into everybody's mind as we're moving forward. So the criteria speak to not adversely affecting the neighboring area, not diminishing the provision of public facilities, shall not create an unsafe situation, does not grant a special privilege, does not result in an inferior pedestrian experience, does not create significant incompatibilities with nearby buildings, does not erode connectivity of the street and sidewalk network, and does not reduce the quality of civic open space. And so when we talk about the pedestrian streetscape requirements, so your streetscape is required to be 15 feet. And I know I've said this on other applications before, and you've probably heard it many times, but so there's a 4-foot curb zone requirement, a 6-foot pedestrian clear zone requirement, and then 5 feet of remaining setback. So in total, you need to have a minimum 15 feet for your streetscape. We have 15 feet on all sides in this situation, but again, in the instances where we have the on-street parking spaces that are existing, we're proposing to omit the curb zone requirement, and that will allow for additional outdoor seating, again, to provide tables that are more than just a two-top, to really activate and create a lively experience along that currently dark intersection. And so when we're talking about the curb zone, we do have a significant curb zone already existing in this area along 1st and along 2nd Avenue over here. And so those meet the minimum dimensions for your curb zone requirements. I think on the north side, that curb zone is actually about 7 feet in width. And so that allows for all of the necessary landscape plantings, the lighting, the street lighting, any necessary utilities. It all fits within those areas. So by omitting the curb zone adjacent to those on-street parking spaces, we're not losing any necessary infrastructure. We're not creating any unsafe situation. You still have the 6-foot pedestrian walkway in all instances. Some areas are even greater than the 6-foot requirement. So all of those provisions are still met. We're just, again, trying to really activate that corner and bring a viable business that can do so to the city of Delray Beach. And this is really just recapping some of what I've already said. So it's adjacent to the on-street parking spaces only. We are still maintaining the required 15 feet of streetscape. We still have the necessary infrastructure, street trees, all of that. And really, we are kind of seeking to reallocate those 4 feet into the dining area as opposed to having almost a non-usable space, which is what it would be otherwise if we were to add the curb zone there. All right, and the second waiver request is related to the awning. And so the areas in blue is where we're proposing to place the awning. So essentially, we're proposing to have it from the edge of the building right up until the property line. And so that would cover all of the outdoor dining areas. We'd have planters along the edge, which would create an attractive experience and kind of delineate the public areas from the outdoor dining areas. And then again, along Second, we're proposing to extend the canopy to the property line. So rather than having a 5-foot fabric awning, which was previously proposed, we're proposing to extend that to 8 feet or 9.5 feet, depending on the location. And so again, the storefront, we actually had a lot of back and forth with the city on this, and city had some internal discussions as well, because there seemed to be not conflicting provisions necessarily, but differing reasoning behind some of the provisions in the city code, because storefronts have a minimum awning projection of 5 feet. You want to encourage that pedestrian activity. You want to provide shade for people. You want to foster those outdoor seating areas and provide some, reprieve from the elements. But also, you can't go into the setback by more than 5 feet. And in this case, we have an existing building. So we're somewhat limited by that building. If it was a new development, we could come in, we could play around with things, move building lines, because it's all kind of fictional until it's constructed. But this is a building that has been developed, in existence since the 70s, and we're trying to bring life into it. So we don't have the option to move the building around as you would with a new development. And the 6-foot pedestrian clear zone, is free from any obstructions. We would, the canopy would end at the property line, so then you'd have the clear zone after that. But even still, and staff notes it in their report, I believe it still provides passers-by with some attraction into the building, and creating that life might foster some interest in actually going into the establishment, which is what we want to create in that Pineapple Grove area, because this is kind of a dark area and missing connection. And then lastly, just again to put things into perspective with the prior approval, the top area here, you have the prior approval with the 5-foot black awnings. Really doesn't provide much shade, doesn't provide much visual interest or architectural interest into the building. And what's being proposed now is this extended canopy that would be cantilevered. This is more in line with what American Social originally proposed to the city, that got tweaked through various renditions with staff comments and trying to address the code requirements. But we feel this is a lot more attractive and inviting and really helpful for that corner of the city. These are the architectural elevations. And that's really it. So we're happy to answer any questions you may have this evening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, hello.
Please.
So this is for the recommendation for 2 CBD waivers for American Social. The property is located in the CBD Central Core Subdistrict. two adjacent streets, Northeast First Street and Northeast Second Ave, are primary streets, and the property is located within the Pineapple Grove neighborhood plan. Previous to this request, a level 1 site plan application was submitted for site and architectural modifications and a change of use from the office to restaurant. Due to the change of use, a parking in lieu request for 33 parking spaces was reviewed and approved by City Commission on June 13th of 2023, and the level 1 was approved administratively in July of 2024. The applicant has now submitted another level 1 for the site and architectural modifications, which include 2 CBD waivers, one for the awning encroachment and the second one for the curb zone width. So pursuant to LDR section 215E5K, PZB must review and make recommendations to the City Commission for CBD reliefs, and City Commission will make the final action. The first waiver is to LDR section 4413D1B1B, where the maximum setback encroachment for awnings is 4 feet. The request is to exceed the 4 feet and encroach a maximum of 9 feet and 7 inches, which is to the property line, along Northeast First Street and Northeast Second Ave. The existing structure is non-conforming with a setback that ranges from 8 feet to 9 feet and 7 inches. And then the proposed awning would cantilever over the outdoor dining, and due to the 20 by 20 corner clip, a hold harmless is required for the existing structure and the proposed awning that will be overhanging within the public right-of-way. The awning is required to meet the minimum vertical clearance over this sidewalk. Pursuant to LDR section 4413E4E2A, the awnings are required to project a minimum of 5 feet from a building facade. There is no maximum projection that is specified, and projection is only limited by the maximum encroachment of 4 feet. The idea of providing large awnings along storefronts is to offer opportunities for pedestrians to not only have shade but also interact with the storefronts. And although the proposed awning is solely covering the outdoor seating and not the pedestrians along the sidewalk, there is still some sort of interactions with the pedestrians that activates the streetscape. The minimum 6-foot pedestrian clear zone is provided and is exceeded in certain areas. And I'll also note that the outdoor dining request, it requires a sidewalk cafe permit, so it will have a separate review for that outdoor dining area. The board should consider if the board should consider if the extension of the awnings to the property line benefit the overall quality of the streetscape, or does it diminish the pedestrian experience? The second waiver is to LDR section 4413E2A1, where a minimum of 4-foot curb zone width is required for the overall 15-foot minimum streetscape. The request is to omit the required 4 feet curb zone where existing on-street parking spaces are located. Pursuant to LDR section 4413C2, properties located within the CBD are held to higher standards to support the lively and highly active pedestrian environment. Streetscape width requirements are as follows. It's a minimum 4 feet curb zone, minimum 6-foot pedestrian clear zone, and then the remaining front setback is whatever is remaining to get the total of the 15-foot streetscape. The minimum 15-foot streetscape is still provided even with the omission of the curb zone, and the applicant proposes to expand the pedestrian clear zone and remaining front setback in the areas seeking curb zone relief. They also improve the existing conditions by proposing these additional 3 shade trees along Northeast First Street where the curb zone is provided. The board should consider whether the trade-off of a larger sidewalk and expanded outdoor dining instead of a curb zone is acceptable, and if this improves the quality of the pedestrian experience, or does the omission of the curb zone for a portion of the streetscape diminish the public facilities and result in an inferior pedestrian experience? The following are your findings. The request should not affect the neighboring areas. It should not diminish the provisions of public facilities. It should not create unsafe situations, and it should not result in the grant of a special privilege. If it's within the CBD, the request shall not result in an inferior pedestrian experience. It should not create significant incompatibilities with nearby buildings. It shouldn't erode the connectivity nor reduce the quality of civic open spaces. DDA has recommended approval for the overall site plan and waivers. These are your board motions, and please note there is a small error on the in the address within the motions on the report, so please use these slides for your motion. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public would like to speak about this? Seeing none, does any rebuttal from applicant or staff? Okay, Mr. Katz.
Sure. I think it's fine. I'm surprised you didn't come up with this at the beginning of the plan, but it probably costs, I'm assuming, at least 6 months a year in the season. I think it's great. Number one, the sidewalk is, you're not diminishing anything from the pedestrian experience. That's always a concern. If anything, it's improving, getting some trees there. The original plan, when I saw it, I've been to a couple of these American Socials, it didn't look like an American Social. So this makes it still, I think, not quite of like Fort Lauderdale, not even close. I mean, they really have a lot larger space they're dealing with, a lot more socializing in it, not socialism. Wrong word there. A lot more socializing, but I think it's great. Hopefully we can get that. That is a blight, and what a great neighborhood right now. So get it going. I'm in favor.
Ms. Monica.
So I have no problem with the extended awnings. I'm just trying to get a better understanding of that curb zone. Is that going to be the only outdoor dining area, or is all the rest of it, but you just want those extra?
So there will be outdoor dining along basically the perimeter of the building. It's just rather than kind of having an indent, a 4-foot inset into the outdoor dining where you have that curb zone requirement otherwise, we're trying to keep it lined up with the rest of the outdoor dining along those perimeters.
That
I don't know if we can maybe
prevent 2 indentations of outdoor dining, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go.
When I
It's
look
the
at
outdoor
it,
dining straight.
what
I think.
instead?
Right. So
They're going to
we're
have parking spaces instead of a curb zone.
right. So
If you know what I mean. Everything's the same from there in.
Right.
Where the parking spaces are, they're parking spaces where aren't parking spaces, they have a green curb zone.
Okay.
Which, if you look at the picture.
Yeah,
And I'd rather have
But
some
the
parking there.
sidewalk's not affected.
I've been
Right.
looking at it for
Correct.
a couple of weeks, but I was just like,
I found the
okay,
pictures, I found the written stuff hard to decipher,
Yeah.
frankly.
okay.
I mean, definitely, trying to understand the picture of it too was difficult. Because
Yeah.
even, just a question, is the awning going to provide any shade at all for the pedestrians or only for the
dining.
restaurant? It's because it ends at the property line. right?
Yeah, it'll end at the property line, so mostly for the people that are seating
Gotcha.
there.
But they were going to put some trees in, so at least there'll be some
Correct.
shade.
Yes, new trees.
Anything else? Mr. Brown?
I think I would improve next time your diagrams, because I don't think it's
Noted.
an urban design diagram, which
Your mic is up here. You always move back away from the mic instead of to the mic.
I would next time do a better diagram, because it's really unclear. My colleague over here, Miss Monica, had a hard time understanding about the grassy curb that's being taken out. That would have helped if you'd had a diagram showing it. But in any case, I don't have a problem with it, and I'll vote for it.
Thank you, and noted for as we move forward.
And I do like awnings that extend out.
Right.
You can make it. And I particularly like it when it helps the pedestrian. It's not going to help the pedestrian in this case. Only the diners.
Right.
That would be an additional waiver, right? Because that'd make it even
It
bigger.
would need to go
You
into the
shouldn't.
city right of way at that point, which we do
Yeah,
extend
you don't
at
do
the corner. So this is kind of the standard corner clip that's required. So we are extending the canopy in that instance where we do have the
Into the right of way.
into the right of way, and we'll provide the hold harmless. So in that area you will.
Yeah. That it? Okay. Yeah, Mike, I had this thoughts about the canopy, trying to read the pictures that, I gave the impression that the canopy was gonna go out to the, basically to the curb or to the edge, over the sidewalk, which apparently is not so. In which case, then I had questions about the corner cut and people trying to, the corner. So I think this is appropriate. Let me start off by saying I think this is great. It's going to improve that area immensely. I don't know how to phrase this. Is the water going to drip off the canopy onto the people walking on the sidewalk?
That's actually a very good question. I'm sure the drainage is accounted for through the design, but I do not know how
I think that's
that's
important that,
yeah.
that drainage off of that canopy be shunted off someplace else.
You can't have gutters on a canopy though, right?
No.
I don't know what you can have, but you
I
can't
will
have
say
it.
it's definitely not a normal looking. I mean, this doesn't
Yeah,
look
it's a
like a
weird
canopy.
looking canopy.
It looks more like a roof than a canopy. I know it's a canopy, but
Right.
it's like a wood something.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
front.
it's solid. It looks solid.
Right, and the intent is again to provide kind of a more attractive outdoor
Absolutely.
dining experience as well. I'm thinking, Louis Bossi's is right by my office in Boca, and it's got chandeliers and all kinds of things hanging from the canopies, and you can't do that with just a fabric awning. So it's really
No,
trying
I
to.
just,
It's gonna have some. It's got to
It's
have some kind of.
I just think
drainage,
it's
yeah.
appropriate
Right,
that
I
it
mean,
has
we can
to be-
certainly look
Especially if you're
into
gonna have
that
signs
and
on top
confirm.
of the awning.
Yeah.
It'll
But
make
it-
you go in and eat there.
You just, I mean, the people that are eating, nobody's gonna want a sheet of water coming down at
Yeah,
the
that's
edge of
very
that.
fair.
They're gonna get underneath there when it's raining and they're gonna be dry and the water's gonna have to go somewhere else. But I
Hopefully
think
they'll
that's
come
important.
in and have a drink at the bar.
I noticed when I was there's a couple of utility poles right in the middle of your outdoor dining area.
Yeah, we're currently coordinating with FPL related to the guy wire specifically and how that's going to work with the canopy. So we've had some preliminary discussions. They seemingly were okay with it, but we need to kind of continue those discussions with them.
And the other thing is the trees, which I think is good, but trying to look at what I was given to look at, it looked like the trees were going to go in the sidewalk. That's not true, is
The
it?
trees are not going in the sidewalk now.
Okay. All right. No, I think it's a great idea.
I'll offer a motion,
Yeah, please offer a motion.
and I'll read it from there since you got the right address. Move to recommend approval for the City Commission of the waiver request for American Social 2025-090 located at 220 Northeast First Street to exceed the maximum awning setback encroachment from 4 feet to maximum 9 feet and 7 inches property line by finding that the request meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Katz, second by Ms. Malika. And Ms. Miller, would you read the roll, please?
Derek Strone is absent. Chris Brown.
Yes.
Jeffrey Musman absent. Mitch Katz.
Yes.
Allison Thomas absent. Judy Malika.
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes, the motion passes 4-0.
Oh, another one.
We gotta
Sorry.
do each
Yeah,
waiver
sorry.
separately.
Sorry. Motion to recommend approval to the City Commission of the waiver request for American Social 2025-090 located at 220 Northeast First Street to reduce the streetscape curb zone dimension from the required 4 feet to 0 feet by finding that the request meets the criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Second.
Motion by
See,
Mr.
you're-
Katz,
you're-
second by
you're
Ms.
not
Malika.
getting
the right one?
Ms. Miller, would you please call the roll?
Derek Strone is absent. Chris Brown.
Yes.
Jeffrey Musman absent. Mitch Katz.
Yes.
Allison Thomas absent. Judy Malika.
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes, and that motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you
Blinky.
very much. I'm just going to stand here for the next item.
Yeah, you're not going far.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing the other one as well?
The intro.
Yep, she's standing
Okay.
with us.
I'm saying,
I thought,
I definitely feel like
what's
we
her
need
name
the
was
time
gonna
on
be,
this.
that's funny,
Just
isn't it?
pointed to there. It'll
Okay.
Christina's
go
here.
kind of
Still
highlight.
here. All right, who's this? Rafiq. Mr. Ibrahim, if you could
Yeah,
please enter the,
sure. Good evening, board members. I would like to enter to the records item 8C, the link located at 202 Northeast 6th Avenue for an architectural design style, file number 2025-228, to provide recommendation to the City Commission regarding the utilization of the masonry modern architectural style within the CBD pursuant to LDR section 4413 F3E, appropriate architectural style, and the applicant is here to present.
thank you. Ex parte,
Oh, no.
Done.
I went up there,
I've been there to the site, yes.
I went up to the site and looked at the adjoining architecture.
Yeah.
Ms. Blinky,
Hi.
you're back on.
Yes. Good evening again. For the record, Christina Belenky. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton. Pleasure to be here. Here now to discuss the link at 202 Northeast 6th Avenue. Sorry. And so the property is highlighted in the box on the red screen. So it is located on the west side of Northeast 6th Avenue, so your federal highway corridor going northward, and north of Northeast 2nd Street. It's only a 0.6 acre property. It is within the central core of the CBD. Currently, it is developed with a commercial building, the cigar bar. That might kind of put things into perspective. And we are proposing a multifamily residential building on the site. So here is just kind of a graphic to show the proposed context in relation to other buildings that have been constructed and are proposed for the areas. So to the west, you have this structure here is the Hampton Inn. The Hampton Inn is 5 stories in height. You have 4-story apartment buildings just to the southwest. You do have 3-story townhomes located along Federal Highway, both on the east and west sides. And then immediately across the street, this property here, where it's La Poulette was the prior restaurant, that has been approved for 4-story townhomes. So again, just to put things into a little bit of context for you as we move forward, but I'm going to hand things off to the architect who can describe the architectural design a lot better than I can.
Good evening. I'm Peggy Fitzgerald from Netta Architects. So the link is, actually I won't go to the next slide. The link is a boutique multifamily development within the central core of the CBD, which aims to increase resident density, activate the street frontages of a prominent corner with fully transparent lobbies and amenity spaces to support and cultivate pedestrian activity. The Masonry Modern style is one of the 7 approved styles in Delray Beach's architectural design guidelines, although it needs your recommendation to City Commission for approval for its use. Our interpretation of this style helps to express an evolution of architecture in Delray Beach's CBD. Collaborating with city staff for the past year, fine-tuning this design provides a quality execution of the style with elegant geometry and fenestration and elements to promote promote outdoor living and connectivity to the neighborhood. It respects the existing neighborhood context in scale and architectural expression, but has its own unique identity. This slide shows an example from the guidelines of masonry modern style. This building is actually located in Miami Beach. From the guidelines, this slide delineates the characteristics that the city has decided makes the basis for the masonry modern style. And so you have the upper part of the building, which includes roof terraces and parapet walls that often enclose outdoor space, windows of vertical proportions. The composition of the building reflects the solidity of the structure and the masonry system with simple geometries. It includes spaces that are carved from the mass to create entrances and terraces. It has a smooth stucco finish. Railings are often metal or extensions of the parapet walls. Included in the design are eyebrows, arches, overhangs to provide shade. The entrance of the building is clearly identifiable, and like all the styles required in Delray, has an articulated base, middle, and top sections. These are two examples of masonry modern buildings in Delray Beach in the CBD that were in the staff report you were provided. In these buildings, you can see that they include rooftop terraces with metal railings, vertically oriented windows, a solidity of structure, smooth stucco finish, and also includes eyebrows, overhangs, and balconies. Our proposed design includes many of these elements as well. So the design includes a flat roof, which utilizes parapet walls extended to enclose a roof terrace that provides additional amenities and outdoor living space for the residents. The composition reflects the solidity of the masonry and structural system. It utilizes simple geometries. You can see spaces that are carved from the mass. This never works for me. Oh, there we go. That creates terraces and the entrances as well. Window types are vertically oriented and also recessed, revealing some wall thickness and providing some shadows and some variation in the elevation surface. The exterior finishes are stucco, and as I mentioned before, recessed terraces and eyebrows, and we have overhangs up above that create shaded areas for outdoor living for the residents that can also come out on their balconies and sort of engage and connect with the neighborhood as well. Railings are metal and glass, and the entrance is clearly identifiable. This doesn't work. There we go, sorry. With the large overhang, which is positioned at the major corner intersection of Northeast 6th Avenue and Northeast 2nd Street, which helps to sort of engage that corner and really delineate, like, this is where you can, enter the building, and it's balanced on either side with very transparent lobby spaces that extend the full width of the first floor to activate the sidewalks and the wide sidewalks to also increase pedestrian activity. Another view of the building from the opposite corner of 2nd Street and the alley, which is to the rear of the property. You can see also there's balconies and terraces and overhangs on all three street-facing facades to help create that engagement and, bring the building into the neighborhood context. So in conclusion, we believe that this elegant interpretation of the masonry modern style will be a positive addition to the CBD, and ask for your recommendation for the approval of the masonry style.
you. Thank you. Mr. Abraham.
All right. Good evening again, board members. Rafiq Ibrahim, Principal Current Planning, file number 2025-228 for the Masonry Modern Recommendation, Architecture Style, 202 Northeast 6th Avenue. I'll try not to repeat what you heard from the applicant, so I'll go straight. So it is actually almost 1/3 of an acre. Commercial, the current use is commercial, the cigar lounge, Smoke Inn, which is existing, currently active. Its land use designation is commercial core, and it is in the CBD, central core, and surrounded by CBD properties. The request, as per also the resolution number 107-25, is to utilize the masonry modern architecture style within the CBD. A little background on the property. This was first developed in 1936 as single-family dwelling, and later on, between 36 and 2014, it has seen various changes of uses, but most recently, 2014 and to present, the structure was converted to the cigar lounge, the Smoke Inn that is currently existing. More context, to the north there is a commercial office, and east, which is actually where the trees are, this is currently vacant, but we have an approved project, which is the edge of Pineapple for townhouses. And then to the south, again across the street, is commercial, and west is the gym, taekwondo studio. The proposal is 4 stories, 10 residential dwelling units. It's purely residential, no commercial or retail uses are proposed in this project. It's a level 3 site plan application. The site plan is an advanced stage, and it will come before the board once you make a recommendation on the architecture style. And this is from the code. So actually the masonry modern style requires approval by the city commission via recommendation by the PZB. If the style is approved, the level 3 site plan application, as I mentioned, will be reviewed by the PZB at a later stage. The same slide the applicant showed, but I just made some highlights to break down the requirement of the architectural guidelines into elements, and the staff report provided thorough analysis into these elements so it could be easily digested. So the upper parapet, the upper part and the parapet, the windows, the composition of the building, the massing, the use of materials, especially stucco, and the use of eyebrows, terraces, arcades, special consideration to the entrance, and the overall articulation of the base, middle, and top. So staff report has thorough analysis into this and also provided more insights into environmental aspects as well. Again, the same aspects, the same breakdown of elements, and with this is directly from the architecture design guidelines. And some of the examples of approved masonry modern styles in the CBD. And also it's worth mentioning the design guidelines were established in response to the overall saturation of generalized contemporary design that lack any historical relevant or contextually appropriate foundation to avoid future proliferation of trend-based contemporary architecture. So this is why the PZB is providing recommendation basically to say that yes or no, the proposed style is reflecting the masonry modern style as the city highlighted in the architectural design guidelines. And this is the elevations and the color palette with finishes. Just put it in one slide so you can get a good picture. And again, as I highlighted, we provided analysis in the staff report regarding massing and the elements, material, and corner treatment, CBD contextual fit. In conclusion, the proposed design reflects or exhibits many of the defining features of the masonry model: simplicity of form, rational massing, and restrained material palette. The northern facade we actually highlighted in the report, which is actually has a minimum opening, a lot of solid in the northern facade, although at the north facade that brings the light with minimum sun, so it is more environmentally sensitive to have more opening towards the north. But we are working with the applicant, and I think they have the applicant also provided some justification that this is adjacent to the neighbor, so it's not at the alley, not at the corner, at the over corner. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, so if Mr. Brown leaves, we lose a quorum, so I figure maybe we can just
Shall we
pause
pause?
for a
Okay,
moment
yeah,
for him to come back.
Oh, yeah.
I paused your clock.
No worries. Okay, just one slide.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good, you got 9 minutes. Everybody's been good about that timer. It's the first time I use it, I don't get to beep anybody.
No, not yet.
Do you want to take a 2-minute break?
We can take a 2-minute break, or we
Yeah,
can.
let's take 2 minutes.
Might as well use the rest of this document.
Yes. So thank you. We were talking about the conclusion that the proposed design exhibits many defining features of the masonry modern style. Yes, there are improvements that could happened in the design. We're working closely with the applicant who is addressing it. We are not done yet with the review cycles, but it's in a very advanced stage, so we may see it soon. Further refinement can still happen.
What was that last thing you just said?
Further refinement can still happen.
Got it, okay. So by
And-
us approving masonry modern,
Yes.
we're not necessarily approving this design.
Absolutely, I think, this is correct. So the approval or the request is for the recommendation of approval of the use of the style, utilization of the style, not specifically, definitely not this precise design, because you will see the design again when the site plan come before the board at a later stage. So you will see again the elevation, and then we will be able also to make comments on 4, 6, 18 architectural style because it's applicable, but today it's not before the board.
Terrific, thank
So
you.
the board consideration today is the masonry modern style appropriate for both regional and site-specific context, such that it fits well within the general downtown Delray Beach urban fabric. Second, is the proposed design a well-executed example of a masonry modern, such that the design elements from the masonry modern style, including material, form, and proportion, are clearly represented. And here are the board motions.
Thank you.
And this will conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reber. This time, is any member of the public who wishes to speak? No, seeing none. Any rebuttals or from the staff or from the applicant?
Hi, Peggy Net Architects. Just a quick clarification of what was said about was said about the design. This is the design that you in most of its form you will see when we come back for formal approval. But we are open to further refinement per staff's comments and issues. And just to speak to the north elevation, there were additional openings and windows. It would be, yes, the upper left-hand corner elevation. So there were additional variations of the elevation and windows provided. It is the only elevation we don't provide balconies. There are only 3 or 4 units per floor level, so you kind of can't have a balcony everywhere, right? And it does face a parking lot to the north with a commercial building, but then we also have to consider that someone may come along in the future and build a building right next to our building 10 feet away. So that's sort of some of the considerations, but we're definitely open to, like I said, working with staff to really button it up. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Haberman, anything else?
No rebuttal. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, would you like to start or
Well, I
comment?
think they've done a good presentation on,
Speak in the mic, please.
I think they've done a good presentation on, and I'll approve the style, I will vote for the style for the city,
Okay.
as long as they keep up, base, middle, and top, and articulation between each part.
Is your mic on? Just asking if it goes on. Yeah, it's on.
He's just a
Okay.
soft talker.
Thank you. Ms. Malika?
I would approve the masonry modern style appropriate for this area and look forward to seeing the design improvements.
Thank you. Mr. Katz?
I have a question, or a couple questions for staff. So I know when we approved the design guidelines in 2015, it was, modern masonry was not needed a second approval, like it was part of it, that was correct. Am I correct that the commission changed that to add it because of the proliferation and too much modern masonry? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that's my question, is that the reason why we came up with the design guidelines was to add variety. We didn't want a cookie cutter downtown, yet now we're getting a cookie cutter downtown. And I think they added that, hoping that some of these applicants would come up with some creativity and use one of the other 9 design guidelines to add that creativity. And I think and we just saw a great example of it on the south end on Federal Highway with a townhouse project. I don't remember where the auto store was that we approved a few weeks, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. But they were able to use some of the other guidelines to not have to do that and add that creativity. Because now you're going to have, yes, does it fit in? Because now right across the street you've got the Edge, which I get was controversial, but now we're not talking about ingress, egress, or any of that at this moment. We're just talking about another cookie cutter, modern masonry. I'd like to see more creativity. I'm not crazy about it. I just have to be honest with you. I'd like to hear what the chair has to say.
And if I
Yeah,
may, to that point,
sure.
I think a lot of my understanding at least, and the staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the issues stemming from the Masonry Modern architecture was that they were just very poorly executed and started looking very just boxy with lack of articulation and lack of real adherence to the standards. So, the Masonry Modern architectural style is still one that can be used. We just have to make sure it gets approved because it is executed correctly and bringing those characteristics to the city, and it's not just, a poorly executed design style that's permitted per the guidelines.
We're not approving the execution tonight. We're approving the use. So we don't know what the actual execution is going to, because we could approve it now and you can come with anything.
Well, I
correct?
think it's going to be very much in line with what's proposed, and I think if we did change it drastically, we'd probably have to come back for re-review by this board. I think to staff's point, the changes that could be made, over the next couple months until the site plan comes before you are to address staff's remaining comments. Really, we're not seeking to reinvent the architecture drastically, which my understanding is we would need to come back before you if it did change pretty significantly.
Well, you have to come back to us no matter what. for the site
Correct,
plan,
we do.
right?
But we would have to come back.
Just
for
to
the
comment,
architecture.
I do think I think you probably already know this, but just to make sure this is a recommendation. So I mean, it's
Correct.
going to go to commission.
No, I know.
We're not approving it here.
No, correct, but
Yeah.
they are relying on a recommendation to
Right.
either recommend or not, so that's
To some extent.
to some extent, yeah. But obviously, I mean, they do, otherwise they wouldn't have us if they didn't want us to
Well.
give a recommendation. I'd like, first of all, before
Yeah, go ahead.
what she said, would you agree with the reason of why they want the approval and not to, because my understanding is that it's the proliferation of modern masonry, that design, too many of that particular design. What I'm hearing from the applicant is that it's because those proliferation were not good enough or different enough, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, so I think she is correct in that was one big issue with poorly executed masonry modern designs that were just slapping a label on an easy to design
Okay.
box. So that was one issue, absolutely. But then another issue that drove that change forward was just the proliferation of the style in general. So those two
So
factors
it's kind of both.
are related to the change in the process.
All right, I'd like to hear.
Mr. Brown has something
I
else.
wanted to
he'd
ask
like to
Mr.
say.
Abraham just one question, and that is, one of the periods of American architecture that I completely detest, it's modern, is brutalism. And I think we must prevent masonry modern morphing into modern brutalism, because modern brutalism, it lasted for about 5 years, and then it finally died out because the public hated it. But one thing that helps is if you articulate base, middle, and top with an expression line. So I recommend that you add that little architectural detail. And who invented that? Well, the Renaissance architects invented it, really. And if you look at some of the, I'm repeating myself from a former speech probably here, but if you look at some of the great buildings in New York on Central Avenue, on Central Park, they all have expression lines between base, middle, and top. And one of the most famous buildings, the Dakota, has the same.
Yeah.
Plaza Hotel. you name it.
Yes, this is true, and also this is one of the important aspects that we look at it in our review, the base and the middle and the top, and there are like ratios, proportions, like golden ratios, if I can say that, and the analysis is required in the site plan, and then you will see also in the site plan when the site plan comes, so there will be analysis of the ratios of the base, middle, and top as
My
well.
colleague, Mr. Katz, has a big point. And if it doesn't look like, if it's not good architecture, we're heading down the wrong path. And brutalism is the wrong path.
And I mean, you said base, middle, top. When I look at this, I see base, and I definitely see top, but I'm not seeing any middle. I'm not seeing any real clear, except for the corner. I'm not saying, I just see a white building.
And sometimes the expression between the base and the middle, they had different material. You could put.
Right, but I'm talking about this project. I don't see any difference.
You said something, or just?
It may need a different materials on the base.
So if I may, like this is the base, and then the two floors are the middle, and then the top. So and then masonry modern is, is famous of its simplicity. So the masonry modern is simple, not complicated, as Mr. Brown also can highlight. It's not like the Art Deco or the other styles where you can have like the fancy top. It's not. So this is the style, and that is before.
But I get why
so, yeah.
everybody's going with it, because it's probably cheaper to build. I mean, that's, it's simple. Simple is always going to be less
Yes.
money.
This is one of the important aspects that masonry modern went like flourished after World War II, not before, because masonry modern was actually before that, since the Charter of Athens 1932 and the establishment of the CM, which is equivalent to the CNU right now, which is basically the Congress, International Congress of Modern Architecture, established by Le Corbusier. But it actually flourished after World War II for this simple reason, because Europe needed to build quickly
fast,
and fast. But the South Florida has its own version, and I think we have some in the staff report highlighting the pioneers. We have our own version, which is reflection of the masonry modern and the architectural design guidelines. So I do agree with Mr. Katz.
Yes, please.
Sorry, it's not actually the cheapest to build. It's probably the most expensive to build.
Okay.
Oh,
Just-
okay. Thank you. I tend to agree with both Mr. Katz and Mr. Brown, our architect, who really knows what he's talking about. And I particularly agree with, I don't want brutalism.
Oh, God.
I really think that there's a tendency to, maybe now we're talking about what's more expensive and what's not, to simplify it down where you get to brutalism. And I think that we need to avoid that at all costs. And I don't think it applies to this particular design.
I agree.
I like the idea of having a more delineation between the three levels. And the fact that you're working on refining, particularly the north face, I think is enough to make it, a reasonable design. The real question is, as was brought up, why did the commission decide, as they did, to make this a required particular finding? And I think it is because of proliferation. And I'm somewhat torn, but I think this is going to be a reasonable architecture at the location. I really am not a major fan of masonry modern, but I can't disagree with this design, and enough to say that I want to disapprove this? Does anyone have? Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think it's appropriate if we ask the staff to come back with, and I think Mr. Abraham showed was it you, Mr. Abraham, that said diagrams of
The,
Or the
the, ar-
elevation.
the articulation. This is going usually with the site plan.
yeah, should you do a pattern book chapter on masonry mortar?
Oh, yeah, there is.
There is in the guidelines, yeah.
It's in
Yes.
it's in the guidelines.
It is, okay.
It is
Yeah.
indeed, yes.
With the particular thing with the diagram with all the lines describing everything is right out of the architectural
Okay.
guidelines.
Okay.
Well, can we have a motion of some sort?
Yes, I would move for a recommendation of approval to allow the use of masonry modern architecture style pursuant to LDR section 4.4.13 F3E, appropriate architectural styles for the link located at 202 Northeast 6th Avenue by finding that the request is consistent with a comprehensive plan and meets criteria set forth in the land development regulations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Mulligan, second by Mr. Brown. Will you please call the roll? Ms. Mulligan?
Deidre Strong is absent. Chris Brown.
Yes.
Jeffrey Muswell absent. Mitch Katz.
Very torn. I'm
discuss it some more?
no, I'm gonna say yes, but I'm just gonna say those delineations gonna come better before I say yes on a site plan when it comes back to us.
We're gonna be tough on the site plan.
And just warning you.
That's a yes.
Allison Thomas is absent. Judy Malika.
Yes.
Gregory Snyder.
Yes. That's 4-0.
Thank you very
Ms.
much. And all
Blakey,
your
thank you
comments have been
again.
noted. Have a great evening, everyone.
Congratulations.
And just a message to the architects out there, please start looking at the rest of the guidelines.
Yeah.
And be creative.
Okay, we have no legislative items tonight. It's
I think part of
staff
it is
comments.
that
Thank you.
in multifamily development, that's what people want to buy in,
Right.
is modern buildings. So it's a challenge for the developers. Thank you.
Staff comments.
No comments, just making note of the upcoming meeting dates, June 16th, July 21st, and again, the September date changed from the 17th, or the 16th to the 15th.
Thank you.
June 16th and July 21st.
Ms. Vega, are there any attorney comments
Nothing from me.
and board comments?
None from me.
I have one comment, just if you can, something I should have brought up during the CIP discussion, but the corner of Federal of First and Sixth, where Atlantic Crossing is, when the settlement was approved on that, before a CO was issued, that light was supposed to be installed there, and that was part of the legal settlement that I voted on as a commissioner. And they're occupied, they're moving forward, they're now on to the next phase, and yet there's nobody there, and there's still people dying on that intersection because there's no light. And it was part of the settlement agreement. It should have been done. So just, we approve things and then we never go back and does that ever happen? So if you could get back to us, I'd love to know what's going on with that
Yes,
light.
I'll look into that. I am not the planner.
I know it's not a planning thing. It's not even your department. It's probably engineering, but
Well, I think it
Police.
our
I spoke to the
when,
police about that corner. That's very dangerous.
it's been
Absolutely
dangerous
agree
for
with you.
years. That was
Yeah.
hours of discussion while I was on the commission before we approved that. And that was where, once they started on that building there, they were supposed to put the light up, and that was going to be paid for by the developer, and it still hasn't happened.
yeah, so it's absolutely within our scope when we're reviewing the permits and the site plans, and we coordinate with all the other departments. But I'm not the planner that
Gotcha.
reviews that one, so I'll check and get back to you. Absolutely,
appreciate it.
I can email you and update
That was
you in
it.
the next.
I
Thank you.
saw there was another accident recently, and I said, what is going on with this?
I have no comments other than I won't be here for the next meeting.
Oh,
You're gonna bring an excuse from your
I will,
That means you need to be on time.
I'll put a bet on a horse for you. Just tell me which horse.
We're adjourned?
We're adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Who is vice chair?